Hello and welcome into this week's ARCA Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, we're currently in our hashtag Race to 1K. If you haven't done it already, go down below, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do. The quicker we get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker YouTube will let us do mobile live streaming, which will vastly improve both the quality and quantity of coverage we're able to give you when we get back to the track. Alright, so let's talk about the penultimate race of the 2020 ARCA Series West season. The NAPA ENEOS 125, presented by the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame. 125 laps, 62.5 miles around the half-mile Kern County Raceway Park in Bakersfield, California. I love this track. This track puts on some really good racing, good multi-groove racing. It's got just enough banking to where you can really use that middle groove, and it comes in real effectively. In fact, a lot of the day it seemed like the middle groove might actually be a little faster than the inside groove, just depending on how it was used. So we got some really good racing out of this track today, and I don't think it disappointed today. The action was pretty hot and heavy early on. It wasn't quite the wreck fest that we saw Friday night at Roseville. There were a lot of cautions, but there weren't quite as many crazy cautions, I guess is probably the right way to put that. There was a lot of really weird, catastrophic wrecks happening Friday night at Roseville. This one, it was just a lot of single car spins, things like that. There wasn't as much drama going on caution-wise in this race, but that didn't mean we didn't have good racing going on here, because as usual, it seemed like Kern put on a really good show for us. So let's get into your caution report for this race. 7 caution flags for a total of 29 laps. In fact, that is one more caution than we had Friday night at Roseville. First caution came before we even completed a lap as Jack Wood spun in turn 2. Holly Holland got in her first incident of the night on lap 8 as she spun off of turn 2. Definitely not the weekend she was looking for, as this day just continued to go downhill from here. Lap 17, Ryan Repko stopped on the track in turn 4. That would be the end of his day. It seemed like something broke in the front end of that car. I'm not sure if it was suspension or what exactly it was, but he was not able to continue after that point. Lap 57, we had debris on the track from Takuma Koga after Taylor Gray got into the 77 while trying to lap him. Lap 70, Joey East spun in turn 4. Lap 92, again, Holly Holland got into the wall off turn 4. That would really put some damage on that car and would put her behind the wall after that point. Lap 106, the 19 of Jesse Love, while trying to pass his teammate Gracie Trotter, would end up spinning into turn 1. It looked like it was going to be a pretty even points day between he and Blaine Perkins at that point, and then Jesse had to really fight to come back from the rear of the field after this point, and that really could have swung the points very drastically. We'll see when we get to the results and the points how much that actually swung the points heading into the finale in a couple weeks at Phoenix. Lap leaders on the day, 3 drivers spent time out front in this race. Taylor Gray, as he did Friday night at Roseville, led the most laps, 72 laps in this race. 30 laps went to Jesse Love, 23 laps to Mason Diaz. Alright, so we know from Friday night that Taylor Gray led the most laps there as well, but got passed late in the race by Gio Scelzi for that win. So just because Taylor Gray led the most laps in this race does not mean he won this race. Mason Diaz and Jesse Love both spent considerable amounts of time out front in this race, but we know that Jesse Love spun late in this race and had to fight his way back from the rear of the field. So it's more than likely not Jesse Love. That leaves Mason Diaz and Taylor Gray, who consistently throughout the weekend at Roseville and Kern seemed to be 2 of the fastest cars all weekend. So which one would it be? Would Mason Diaz take Venturini Motorsports to victory lane in the ARCA Series West, or would Taylor Gray take DGR Crosley to victory lane in the West Series? It would be Taylor Gray this time picking up the victory, his first career West Series victory, first career ARCA win overall. Really good run out of Taylor this weekend. Unfortunately made that little bobble in 3 and 4 coming to the white flag in Roseville Friday night, which cost him the win there. Didn't make any such bobble in this race. Drove a pretty flawless race for the most part this time around and was able to secure the victory. Great run from Taylor. Really just had the fastest car all day long. Got past a couple times on restarts here and there, but overall you could tell Taylor really probably was the fastest car in this race. Mason Diaz, I think, was right there with him, though not very far off, maybe a hair off speed-wise throughout this entire race, and I think that was the difference there. Mason could get up to the back bumper sometime, but then as the run went on, Mason would slowly start to lose time to Taylor, and that would be the difference there. The longer we would go in a run, the more Taylor would stretch out that lead, and it was very apparent that Taylor definitely was the fastest car in this race. Blaine Perkins, after starting 10th, I was a little worried for him and his championship hopes coming into this race, but was able to rebound very effectively throughout the race, methodically picked his way through the field in the early stages, and ended up with a solid third place finish. And as we talked about with Jesse Love's issues, this could be a really good points day for him. The other Sunrise Ford, Trevor Huddleston in 4th, and Gracie Trotter, the highest BMR finishing Toyota in this race, in 5th. Rest of your top 10, Kyle Keller in 6th, Todd Souza 7th. We see Jesse Love there in 8th. That is as far up as he was able to make it at the end of the race, so not as bad as it could have been, but as we'll see when we get to the points lead has shrunk at this point. Gio Scelzi, your winner from Friday night, came home in 9th. He was off all day, never really was a factor in this race whatsoever, and Jack Wood rounds out the top 10. Final page, 11th through 16th. We see Joey East after his issues down here in 13th. Holly Holland after her late wreck came home in 15th. And Ryan Repko rounds out the field in 16th. Only completing 15 laps in this race. Been a while since he'd been in an ARCA car, and I'm sure he wanted more out of this. Unfortunately, wasn't even ever able to really do anything in this race. Out way too early, unfortunately, for the driver of that 20 car. So that's your results from the NAPA ENEOS 125 from Kern County Raceway Park. Congratulations to Taylor Gray on that win. Working on getting that interview set up for you. Make sure you get your notifications turned on and you're subscribed. That way you will know exactly when that interview does come out. All right, so let's take a look at your point standings with one race remaining in the ARCA Menards Series West, and the lead is down to 14 points. So by my math, how this works out, and I may be wrong on this, but by my best math that I could do for this, if Blaine Perkins goes out, wins the pole, leads every lap, and wins the race at Phoenix, and Jesse Love finishes top 8, Jesse Love wins the championship. Best case scenario for Blaine Perkins, if he gets as many points as possible by the pole, leading the most laps, and winning the race, Jesse Love would need to finish 9th or worse for Blaine Perkins to win this championship. Not impossible, but a very tough task, especially as fast as those BMR cars are week in and week out. But we saw a very off night from Jesse Love on Friday night at Roseville. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we see that at Phoenix on the 7th. And assumably, from everything we're hearing, it seems like there's going to be a fairly large entry list for this race. A lot of cars from the East and the main ARCA series coming over for this race, so this entry list is going to be bigger than it usually is and more competitive cars than there usually are in this series, even more than there were this weekend with the DGR and Venturini cars coming over. If the 19 shows up and is just lacking speed from the get-go like they were at Roseville Friday night, Blaine Perkins is not out of this yet. And Perkins did mention that they have a new big track car that they're bringing to Phoenix. So if that thing unloads really fast and the 19 unloads really slow like they were on Friday, who knows how this championship is going to turn out. This is not over yet. 36 points back in third now is Gracie Trotter, as she has secured that third spot again over Gio Scelzi. He's now 40 back. Trevor Huddleston in 5th. Todd Souza 6th. Holly Holland down there in the 7th position. That's your point standings following Kern County Raceway Park with one race remaining in the 2020 ARCA Menards Series West season. It's going to get exciting here. Like I said, it is not over yet. I would not write this off as a Jesse Love championship just yet. It does look very likely that he's going to win this championship at this point, but you can't count your chickens before they're hatched. That's the saying that I've always heard. So you got to run the races. We can't just assume that a 14-point lead means Jesse Love has won this championship, because he hasn't. It's very likely, but it's not a sure thing just yet. That's why we go, that's why we watch these races, that's why we run these races, because we don't know what's going to happen. So, on to Phoenix in a couple of weeks, November 7th. The season finale for the ARCA Menards Series West as they wrap up their season the same time the top 3 series wrap up their season in Phoenix. Going to be a fun weekend there in Phoenix. NASCAR Heat 5 coming up on Wednesday. That live stream as usual Wednesday night. Your next favorite driver as usual coming out 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. That one, as usual, we're going to keep that as a surprise who the driver for that one is. But I think that is a chat you're going to enjoy this week as well. If you haven't seen this week's chat with Holly Holland on Your Next Favorite Driver, definitely go back and check that one out. It was a great chat we had with her, getting to know her and her racing background and just getting to know her on a more personal level as well. So like I said, if you haven't checked that one out, definitely go do that. As always, I want to thank our Patreon supporter, Regional Manager William Holmes. Thank you as always for your support. It is greatly appreciated. If you would like to be a patron of RNN, the link is down below in the description, patreon.com/racingnewsnow. Not required by any means, but it is definitely appreciated when you want to support RNN in that way. And just as a little house cleaning announcement, we do have a Discord server now for those of you that want to go chat and talk to each other and that kind of thing, and just voice, pictures, text, all those kind of things. I just learned of the greatness that is Discord. So that will be linked down below in the description as well if that's something you want to do. Chat with other fans from RNN, as well as I'll be in there from time to time as well. So if you want to chat with me outside of when there's a live stream or a video, that is the place to do it. But I think that's all I got for you. So as always, that'll do it for this ARCA Series Rewind show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.